What if the scariest monster was the one you could never see? No face, no shape, no explanation, just the terrifying certainty that looking at it means death. That's the nightmare inside Bird Box. A story that transformed fear of the unknown into one of the most psychologically disturbing horror experiences in modern fiction. And today, we're breaking down why it works so well. The world changes suddenly, mysterious entities appear, anyone who looks at them instantly loses their mind. Society collapses almost overnight, and survival depends on one terrifying rule: never look. At the center of the story is Malorie, a woman trying to protect two children in a world where vision itself has become dangerous. She survives through fear, instinct, and discipline, but emotionally, she's constantly trapped between hope and despair. Most horror stories show the monster. Bird Box does the opposite. It hides the threat completely. And psychologically, that's more terrifying, because the human mind fears uncertainty more than clarity. What we imagine often becomes worse than reality. Humans naturally fear things they can't understand. The unseen creates anxiety because it removes control. No information, no certainty, no way to prepare. That psychological helplessness becomes the core horror of Bird Box. Without sight, characters depend entirely on sound. Footsteps, wind, whispers. Suddenly, ordinary noises become terrifying. The world transforms into a constant state of tension, and the audience experiences that fear alongside the characters. One of the story's greatest strengths is this: the creatures are never fully revealed. That forces readers and viewers to create their own fears mentally. And personal imagination creates horror more powerful than visual effects ever could. The blindfolds are more than survival tools. They symbolize vulnerability, isolation, and humanity's desperate attempt to avoid terrifying truths. The characters survive by refusing to see reality directly, and that idea carries deep psychological meaning. Isolation dominates the story. Characters are emotionally disconnected, cut off from society, unable to trust the world around them, and that emotional isolation intensifies the horror even further. Bird Box constantly asks, how much humanity can survive inside fear? As danger increases, people become paranoid, distrustful, emotionally numb. Survival slowly changes who they are. Malorie's story isn't just physical survival, it's emotional survival. She begins emotionally distant, afraid to fully connect with the children she protects. But over time, fear forces her to rediscover human connection and responsibility. Bird Box proves something important: atmosphere can be more terrifying than violence. The tension comes from uncertainty, silence, anticipation, psychological pressure. That slow-building dread becomes unforgettable. The adaptation of Bird Box introduced the story to a global audience. But the novel creates fear differently. The book relies heavily on imagination and internal psychology. The film uses visuals and sound design to create suspense. Both approaches reveal different sides of fear. Because the story reflects real human anxieties: fear of uncertainty, fear of losing control, fear of invisible threats, and in many ways, those fears feel more relevant today than ever before. If you want to write psychological horror like this, hide the monster. Build tension through uncertainty. Use atmosphere over gore. Focus on emotional survival. Let imagination do the work. Sometimes, what audiences don't see becomes the scariest part. At its core, Bird Box is about humanity confronting the unknown, and realizing that fear itself can become more dangerous than any monster. Bird Box remains powerful because it understands one terrifying truth: the unseen will always frighten us more than the visible. Because once imagination takes over, fear becomes limitless. If you want more deep horror and storytelling breakdowns like this, subscribe, because the most terrifying stories are often the ones that never fully reveal the monster.